Hi, everyone. First, thank you for Tech.eu and for having myself and OpenPayd here today. My name is Treacy. I'm the head of marketing at OpenPayd. And today, I'm going to talk a little bit about embedded finance and our view of embedded finance. If the clicker works, there we go. So you may have seen over the last couple of years, embedded finance has been making the headlines on quite a consistent basis. You'll also see that many of the major fintech brands and banks are looking to reposition themselves or rebrand their position in the market to associate themselves with embedded finance. And there's very good reason for that. But first, what is embedded finance? There's many different definitions of embedded finance out there in the market. But we at OpenPayd, we've kind of got our view on what it is and specifically on where we see the future going. So embedded finance, the integration of financial services into the user experience of a product or service. Now, other definitions that you'll see will often refer to embedded finance as only for non-financial brands. However, embedded finance has been here for quite a long time. The whole fintech industry, generally, we believe, has been built on embedded finance. And I'll explain a bit more what I mean about that on one of the next slides. But first, the four buckets that we see, or the kind of dominant areas of embedded finance, can be summarized at a high level into payments, banking, lending, and insurance. Now, in terms of the use cases or some examples of what we mean by each of these different kind of areas, Uber, you go onto your Uber app, you can book your Uber and make the payment with the same click. So that is embedded financial services in context within the user experience of the product. If you look at ASOS and really the whole buy now, pay later industry that has grown significantly over the last 4 years, you are taking out a lending product at the price of purchase on an e-commerce website. And you'll obviously see that on pretty much every single major merchant that's out there today. eToro, traditionally a trading platform, stocks, shares, crypto, indices, etc. They've launched their own payment account and card solution. This is a shameless plug here because OpenPayd is actually the underlying infrastructure that serves that. But that's a trading platform looking for additional ways to serve their clients and increase the touch points that they have with their clients. And maybe one that perhaps isn't spoken about as much because it's not as cool and sexy as many of the other embedded finance use cases out there, but travel insurance. Many of the people that have perhaps flown in today or regularly take travel will notice that when you're on the checkout of a Booking.com, of an EasyJet, whichever kind of travel firm that you're using, you'll often see the ability to add travel insurance onto the package as you're checking out. Now, these are all very clear examples of embedded finance, but none of them could really exist today without the underlying technology. Now, we are at Tech.eu, we're at a tech conference. I don't really need to go into what an API is, but it's important to mention here because the growth of the embedded finance industry has really been underpinned by API technology and API-driven solutions that enable different platforms to, one, be integrated and two, to communicate with each other to share that data. Now, the way that we see embedded finance at OpenPayd is that we're really at the beginning of this trend. As I mentioned before, fintech has been the early adopter of fintech and finance-related brands, have been the early adopter of embedded finance solutions. So many of the neobanks, before they went and got their banking license, would have been using an underlying banking as a service provider to basically offer their solutions. Now, the addressable market, there's so many different data points out there that you can see about how big this market is going to be. Now, the one that I've taken here is by Simon Torrance, but if you look at McKinsey reports, if you look at Bain reports, everyone has a slightly different number. I think what they're all trying to say is that there's a huge opportunity and this industry is growing quite rapidly. And the reason that it's growing so rapidly is because, yes, we have the fintech finance-related brands, which for over the last 10 years have been growing quite significantly. But you also have the ability for non-financial brands that are digital first to utilize the underlying API technology to launch their own financial services. And I think when you think about the different use cases across all these different brands, the total addressable market is growing infinitely, especially with the pace of the digital transformation in the market right now. And then if you look at the end, more traditional businesses not only will look at building it into their customer experience, but they're also looking at how they can improve their back office operations by embedding financial services into it, whether that's from reconciliation or many of the different reasons or challenges that they perhaps have. Now, the way that we think about it is in the past, banks have always been the gatekeeper of financial services. They've been the one that held the direct customer relationship, whether that be a consumer or whether it be a merchant. And it's the only real place that people have trusted to keep their money. But this is changing, and it really is changing at a rapid rate now. Technology is moving at a huge rate, and user experience is really becoming the core thing that businesses and consumers want when they're looking for new solutions on the market. Also, we have to consider the next generation. Myself, my parents, my grandparents, perhaps would only have ever had their money in a bank. The next generation coming through will be buying their clothes on TikTok that they might want to hold a balance with because they'll be purchasing there more than anywhere else. They maybe, obviously there's already one-click Amazon purchases out there. You can see Amazon Fresh shops throughout the whole of London right now. The next generation are going to be so much more used to technology than ourselves. Then I think that reliance on the banks for trust is going to waver over the coming years. And I think banks really need to start to think about how they distribute their services and how they can reach the masses, perhaps not with that one-to-one customer relationship. So a little bit about OpenPayd, just to wrap things up. We are a banking as a service provider that provides infrastructure for embedded finance. We are a business of around 150 people. We process around 5 billion in transaction volume a month. We've been growing very significantly over the last couple of years. And our platform has over 2 million connected end users. So when you think about the customers, so 450 customers, are then offering embedded financial services to over 2 million people around the world. And then yes, in terms of the wider business, we've never taken institutional funding. We have our founder, Dr. Ozan Ozerk. He has a number of different business interests around the UK, Turkey, and throughout the rest of Europe. We have offices in the UK and London here, Turkey, Istanbul and Antalya, Malta, Bulgaria, France, US, Lithuania. And we really do believe that we're only at the beginning of this embedded finance journey. Thank you very much.